Real Virginia is produced by the Virginia Farm Bureau Federation. Become a Farm Bureau member today.
Home will always be Virginia, between the Blue Ridge and Chesapeake Bay, Atlantic to Appalachia, home in my heart always.
Hello everyone and welcome to Real Virginia, a show about Virginia agriculture and the wonderful people who produce the local products we enjoy.
This month, we join Andy Hankins as he harvests asparagus from the ground up. Kendra Bailey Morris has some tasty tips for a goat cheese appetizer in the heart of the home, and we learn the basics of how a modern dairy farm works.
We are coming to you from Twin Oaks Farm in Rockingham County, a beautiful farm with wonderful vistas here in the county. And you know, Mother's Day is right around the corner, so it's a great time to think about interesting gift ideas. And Mark Viette has some suggestions for live plants for Mom in the garden.
Orchids are now the #1 selling plant. You know, it surpassed poinsettias, and the reason is orchids can be purchased year-round. And look at these beautiful orchids here. These are known as the moth orchid or Phalaenopsis. It really was my grandfather's favorite. He enjoyed the pure white Phalaenopsis. These orchids can bloom twice per year and they're easy to grow. They like high humidity though, anywhere from 40 to 50 to 60% relative humidity. They like cooler nights, warmer days to set buds. And one of the things that you'll notice, if you're worried about if it's too much light or not enough light, when you look at the leaves, if the leaves have sort of a purplish or rosy tinge to them, that means they've got the correct light. If they're really dark green or very pale, that means your light might not just be perfect for this plant. And when you do purchase this plant, make sure that you buy it where it still has plenty of buds. These orchids can bloom for as long as 2 months. Again, that's the Phalaenopsis or the moth orchid. You would like to purchase plants for someone that are going to last a long time. I mean, if you get an annual, that's great. It's really showy, but a short period of time. But some of these plants, like the tropical, beautiful hibiscus, just look at the colors with the nice, shiny green leaves. This needs to be indoors in the winter, because if it freezes, it will die. But you can actually create this plant almost into a small tree. Let's not forget the shrimp plant. I have found shrimp plants do phenomenally well indoors, even if the humidity level is a little dry. Hydrangeas are also great gifts. Now keep in mind, some of the ones that you'll find in your greenhouses are best suited indoors or planted in protected areas. I also want to mention the Gerbera daisies here in the front. Phenomenal plants. They're going to last a long time. One of the most popular plants that is being grown today, and I predict it won't be long before it's going to be like the #1 selling plant, is going to be the bromeliads. Look at the array of colors that we have with these bromeliads. They like the same conditions that orchids like in a way of high humidity, maybe 40 or 50%. And they do like bright light, but they don't need full sunlight. But then look at the different types of flowers. Some of the ones in the foreground here are really known for their beautiful color in the center of the leaves. One thing keep in mind with bromeliads, once the mother plant flowers, it dies. Now, once this flowers, it may stay on for another year, but if you look here, we have another brand new young bromeliad that's going to look like this in maybe 6 months. Bromeliads can be placed outdoors during the summer months in bright shaded areas. Some people have bromeliad gardens that they put outdoors. Keep in mind, you can even have bromeliads in small little containers like this beautiful one here. Or you can have some of the air plants, which are also bromeliads. This is Tillandsia here. And if you've got that perfect condition with lots of humidity, you can even have bromeliads like this just growing right in the air. And look at that little flower on that one that you see here. Easy to grow, bromeliads, a great gift to give anyone. I'm Mark Viette. Join me next time in the garden.
For more garden tips, go to inthegardenradio.com.
Virginia has a proud dairy history, and these farms are family-owned farms where generations work side by side to ensure the success of a family business. And thanks to sound animal care, dairy producers are predicting a bright future.
Virginia is not considered a big dairy state, ranking 23rd in the nation in milk production. But Virginia dairy farmers are on the job 365 days a year to produce nearly 200 million gallons of milk. 98% of the state's dairies, like Eastview Farm in Hanover County, are family-run operations. This farm has been in the Knuckles family since the 1930s. A successful dairy farmer will work from before sunrise to well after sunset.
Begin getting up at 3 a.m., head on down here at 3 a.m. in the morning and gather the milking animals in from the pasture and bring them up to be milked, and milk till about 6:30, 7 o'clock. Later, after I go home for breakfast, come back and we'll take care of any odd chores that need to be taken care of, whether it's managing young stock or older stock. Go home to lunch, come back from lunch, 2:30 to 6 o'clock at night, finish up milking and head on home and have some good quality family time.
The work doesn't end after milking is over. Cows are moved out to graze in the pasture or into a freestall barn where they can move about how they wish before the next milking begins. They receive plenty of water and food to help in milk production during the day. There is a constant attention on the cows and their comfort to produce milk.
Often in our industry talk about and refer to cow comfort, which is something that we have really realized the benefits of making the cow comfortable and how much more productive she will be. So it benefits us both financially and ethically, because we really do love and care for our cows quite a bit.
One dairy cow will produce an average of 2,000 gallons of milk a year. The herd is monitored for any kind of problems, including illness. Cows that become sick are treated and separated from the herd.
We use an antibiotic on a cow just as you would for yourself or for your children to get them better if they're sick. If they have a high temperature, but there are different antibiotics for different infections, but basically it's as simple as if they have an infection and you give them the proper antibiotic, they will get better.
They're not in mass use, they're definitely used as a prevention mode for illness, just like you would treat yourself or your children. If you see a sick animal, you give it the proper antibiotics prescribed by your veterinarian, and no more or no less. Just follow the strict guidelines set forth.
The presence of antibiotic residues in milk is illegal. In fact, the milk is tested at the dairy following milking, then at the tanker and at the processing plant to see if it contains antibiotics. That's well before it's ever bottled and sold. If any trace is found, a tanker truck will be completely dumped, costing the dairy thousands of dollars. While dairy farming is tough, Taylor Knuckles says he hopes to be able to pass the farm on to his children to continue the family business and keep his land in agriculture.
At the very least, I want to be able to teach my children the value of a dollar and the value of hard work and what comes from hard work, at the very least. And hopefully at the most, they want to come back here and work on the farm and take it over and take it to newer, higher places than I can take it.
The Knuckles family farm is one of 715 licensed commercial dairy farms in the state. Cash receipts generated statewide by these hardworking producers amounted to $331.9 million, according to the latest statistics.
Just north of the state capital, Hanover County is one of Virginia's strongest agricultural centers. Its 625 farms generate almost $44 million in cash receipts a year. Hanover County farmers raise everything from dairy cattle to fresh produce. The top row crops are corn for grain, followed by soybeans, wheat, and barley. Farmers also have 10,000 head of cattle, including 600 milking cows. And along with other fresh vegetables, farmers raise the locally famous Hanover tomatoes, renowned for their sweetness and taste.
Up next on Real Virginia, we'll learn how to use goat cheese in a delicious recipe in the heart of the home with Kendra Bailey Morris. And Andy Hankins with Virginia Cooperative Extension will show us how asparagus is grown and harvested from the ground up.
I was born and raised on a dairy farm in western Rockingham County here in the Shenandoah Valley. Well, the barn here is a we-cover barn. It's a loose housing compost barn. The large fans that are in the barn are 24 feet in diameter, so it's blowing the heat and humidity off the cows and keeping the cows very comfortable. When we built the barn and first put the cows in it, we saw the milk increase 3 to 4 pounds a cow a day. Anytime you have a comfortable cow, you always have a clean, wholesome environment. And the better the environment is for the cow, the better the quality of the milk. The more comfortable we can keep the cows, the better we can treat the cows, the better they will treat us as far as milk production, putting more milk in the tank. I'm Gerald Heatwell, a third-generation dairy farmer from Virginia, and I'm dedicated to dairy, our cows, our milk, and our land.
Using goat cheese is an easy way to kick up your recipe, and it's so easy to find at any local farmer's market this spring. Kendra Bailey Morris has a great recipe using goat cheese in the heart of the home.
Hi, welcome to Heart of the Home, and my name is Kendra Bailey Morris, and today we're going to be making one of my favorite appetizer recipes. It's a crostini topped with goat cheese, balsamic marinated strawberries, and arugula. It's absolutely delicious, very, very easy, and a total crowd pleaser. So first we're going to start with our balsamic vinegar. And what we're going to do here is take a little bit of balsamic vinegar and a little bit of sugar and mix that together, and our strawberries are going to go into it. And what that is called maceration. And what we're doing is essentially giving our strawberries a little bit of that balsamic ting, but also a sweetness. And on top of that, it's also going to break down the fruit and make it nice and soft so it can go on top of our crostini. So I'm just going to go ahead and let that set aside, and you can see these are going to sit for about 15 minutes or so. Crostini is essentially sliced baguette or bread that's brushed in a little bit of olive oil and toasted. Now you can top crostini with just about anything. In this case, we're going to do it with some goat cheese, and Virginia produces some really, really wonderful goat cheeses. With crostinis, you can do sliced steak on it, you can do cheese, you can just do vegetables, you can do a pesto. There's all kinds of wonderful things you can put on it. So I'm going to take my crostinis and brush them with a little bit of olive oil. And these are going to go in the oven for about, I would say, until they're toasty, about 10, 12, 15 minutes. And they're going to go in about a 350-degree oven. You want them to be nice and brown and crusty, but you don't obviously want them to be too hard. You want them to have a little bit of bite to them still. Now these are going to go in the oven. Now what I have here are some finished crostinis. And this is what you're going for. You want this really nice toasted look. And you can brush oil on both sides or on one side. Doesn't matter. You're still going to get a nice toast with them. I'm just going to put a couple on the platter here. And here is our goat cheese. And the goat cheese is essentially just a nice, soft, spreadable cheese. There's a couple of producers in Virginia that do some wonderful flavored cheeses that have all pesto in them or red pepper in them and all different types of things. But for this particular recipe, because we're working with so many different various flavors, a lot of sweet of the strawberry and a lot of balsamic tang, if you will, a lot of vinegar, we just want a basic goat cheese to pair with this. Okay, so next we're going to go ahead and add some goat cheese to our crostinis. And you don't need a ton of it, but if you want to pile it on, you can pile it on. I like to pile it on. And one thing with this particular dish, a lot of appetizers you can make ahead of time. This one, you don't want to make too far ahead of time. You can make your crostinis upwards of a day before and keep them in a Ziploc bag. But if you're going to go ahead and have a crowd over to your house, you're going to make sure that you put the goat cheese on kind of at the last minute, and also the strawberries, because it will cause everything to get soft, including your bread, and you don't want that. And then next I'm going to top with my balsamic marinated strawberries. And if you like, you can add a little bit of black pepper to these strawberries as well. For some reason, it's a very Italian thing. You have strawberries marinated in balsamic and black pepper. It's a beautiful combination. In fact, I think I'm going to do that. Just a little bit. Okay. Now these go on just like so. And just a couple for each ought to do it. Okay, and the final thing that you're going to want to do before you serve these is take some fresh arugula, and actually in Virginia there's all kinds of wonderful arugula that's being grown all over the state, so when you hit the farmer's market when it's in season, make sure to get yourself some. And I'm just going to pour a little bit of olive oil on here and toss it around. And arugula is going to play in really nicely to the black pepper that we have in this dish, since arugula is naturally peppery in flavor. And then finally, we're just going to top each one of these with just a little bit of arugula. And if it kind of falls over the side, don't worry about it. This may not be the cleanest dish to eat, but it's really, really delicious, and it's really beautiful. As you can see, the colors with the red, and you have the white and the green. It's very Italian. And there you have it. We have crostinis with goat cheese, balsamic marinated strawberries, and also arugula. This is a wonderful dish that you can make for your family and friends. It's wonderful for entertaining. For the Heart of the Home, I'm Kendra Bailey Morris. Let's get cooking.
Recipes from the Heart of the Home can be found on the Virginia Farm Bureau website at vafarmbureau.org.
Virginia's green industry continues to grow as more people become interested in gardening. The boom may be related to the economy and the fact that consumers are looking for ways to save money by planting their own fruits and vegetables. The U.S. Department of Agriculture predicts that the production value of the U.S. horticultural crops will increase by more than 3% annually over the next decade, and consumption of horticultural products will continue to rise. According to the latest agricultural census, Virginia's greenhouse and nursery industry generates more than $248 million in cash receipts a year. The top 5 green industry production states are California, Florida, Oregon, Pennsylvania, and Texas.
We've all done spring cleaning in our time, but what if you can make money by cleaning up? That's exactly what some farmers are doing. And as Norm Hyde reports, they're recycling their old farm equipment and metal.
Recycling scrap metal is big business these days. Scrap steel's going for about $11 per 100 pounds. Scrap copper can sell for as much as $3.30 per pound. But recycling's also a way many farmers are doing their part to clean up their farms and the environment. Eugene Baer with Recycle Management in Page County says there are a lot of Shenandoah Valley farms with old equipment and building parts lying around. Many older farmers lived through the Depression era and never threw anything away.
You know, there's old equipment, there's, you know, buildings that have fallen down either because of just the age or because of a storm. Most of these buildings have metal siding, metal roofs, and you know, a lot of these things aren't steel, they're aluminum. Aluminum's a lot more valuable than steel. So, you know, there's substantial money that's just sitting in the way.
That's definitely the case on this farm, bought by Dennis Baker 7 years ago. Baker has used Recycle Management in the past and likes the idea of cleaning up his property and making money at the same time.
We just got so much metal laying around, it's been accumulated over years and years, and every day you find something that's got to be thrown away. And right now, with the price of metal, it just pays to a little extra income from the farm. But the biggest advantage is just they bring the dumpster right to the farm, and when I get time, I load it. They come pick it up. If I need, bring another one. But that's the biggest advantage. I don't have to take my time to haul it somewhere.
Farmers like Baker can earn as much as $1,000 for a full dumpster of scrap metal, even more for valuable metals.
If you've got it out in your field, cattle can get fast in it. I mean, and well, snakes love them. And so, you know, and it's just the weeds grow up around them. You either got to go take a weed eater and cut the weeds. So sometimes you're losing a quarter-acre ground, you know, with a couple pieces of machinery sitting around. Besides, it looks bad.
It's a win for our business, of course. It's a win for the environment. And it's also a win for our customers. If it's a farmer, he can put that money back into his operation.
Recycle Management also accepts batteries and junk cars. You can learn more about its agricultural recycling program at its website, recyclemanagementllc.net. And if you're not in the Shenandoah Valley, other recycling firms also accept scrap metal and vehicles from farm sites.
My journey into dairying began back when I was a child growing up on the farm in Maryland. I love being a dairy farmer because it's an adventure to be a dairy farmer. It's a new beginning every day. A lot of people drive by my dairy farm and they recognize it as being a dairy, but they didn't really recognize it as a product until I built the dairy and ice cream store. And when we built that, people associated the ice cream and the milk to this dairy farm.
It's a huge responsibility that we have being farmers, and we're proud to be able to do it.
Every day we have the opportunity to provide a wholesome product that's vitamin rich and nutrient full. we are very fortunate to be able to raise our families in such a wonderful environment. I am Ken Smith, a fourth-generation dairy farmer from the state of Virginia, and I'm dedicated to dairy, my cows, my milk, and my land.
Asparagus is a springtime favorite for everyone, but have you ever wondered how it's grown and harvested? Virginia Cooperative Extension Specialist Andy Hankins shows us how that's done from the ground up.
Today we're at Morris Andrews Asparagus Field here in Mecklenburg County, Virginia, and we're talking about asparagus production. This field of asparagus, it's about 1/3 of an acre, was planted in April of 2004. We planted 3 varieties of asparagus, which were Jersey Knight, Jersey Supreme, and Jersey Giant. Now in the 7th year of production, we're getting a lot of good spears and we're harvesting them. This is an excellent example of a perfect asparagus spear that's ready for harvest. The tip is still tight. This little asparagus spear is soon going to be ready for harvest. You don't want to pick them at this short stage. It's better if they're about 10 or 11 inches tall. The thing about asparagus, it'll be this high at 8 o'clock in the morning, and then it'll be 12 inches tall at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It grows really quickly. So twice-a-day harvest is necessary to get all of your asparagus spears at the correct stage of development. To harvest asparagus, you simply can just snap it off with your hand like that. The problem with asparagus harvest, it's not really a problem, it's just a necessity, is you have to stand up, walk down the row, lean down, snap off another one, and it's the labor is pretty hard on your back. We usually can start harvesting asparagus in Virginia right around about the 1st of April, and with the mature stand can continue to harvest until the middle of May. The asparagus spears actually tell you when to stop harvesting. When they first start coming up in the spring, they're normally lots of nice thick spears like this. That is what is really the strongest market demand for. Later in the spring, on into the 1st of May, when you start to get a lot of these thin spears, the stand is telling you it's time to stop harvesting pretty soon. When you get to the point where 50% of your spears that you're harvesting are skinny ones like this, instead of these nice thick ones, it's time to stop. And what we do is we stop harvesting the asparagus and allow the ferns to grow up. And that stores energy in the plant for next year's harvest. A well-managed stand of asparagus can often give us 1,500 to 2,000 pounds per acre of asparagus. Mr. Andrews here sells the asparagus for $3 a pound, and so it can be a profitable crop. This is an asparagus beetle, and it's the very first one we're seeing here, but there will soon be thousands more. It's an insect that likes to eat the ferns, and if they do too much damage, it can severely reduce the yield of asparagus that you're going to get next year. When the harvest is completed, we usually put down a complete fertilizer on the patch, and in the fall, when the frost hits, these green ferns will turn to a beige color. Mr. Andrews always burns off the whole patch in the spring, in March, before the spears start coming up, and that can eliminate some of the diseases and insects. For more information about asparagus, contact your local Cooperative Extension office. This has been Andy Hankins. We'll see you next time on From the Ground Up.
We're so glad you could join us this month to celebrate the bounty that Virginia has to offer, whether it's in your kitchen, your home and garden, or out in the wide open spaces. We are so proud to say that this is real Virginia. So for everyone from the Virginia Farm Bureau, thanks for watching. Make it a good month.
Home will always be Virginia, between the Blue Ridge and Chesapeake Bay, Atlantic to Appalachia.